Hey guys, and welcome back to Pixel Cherry Ninja's channel. In this video we're going to have a look at the Reflex Adapt from MiSTer Add-ons, a device that lets you play using old controllers on, well, your MiSTer, your PC and the PlayStation 3. It's a little bit different from SNES because the SNES adapter only works with the MiSTer. This works with the PC and the PlayStation 3 as well as the MiSTer. Now, for the purpose of this video, I mean, the main thing I'm going to be using it on is the MiSTer, but in this video I'm going to be testing it on the MiSTer. I'm going to be testing it on the PC but not the PlayStation 3 because hey, my PlayStation 3 is in the cupboard and it's packed up. So there's only a few controllers that I had access to, so I did find my PlayStation 2 controller. I found the PlayStation 1 original digital controller, but it was in really bad condition in my shed. I did manage to buy a Joy-Con, and that's the reason that I got this. Like, so just full kind of this full like transparency here, MiSTer Add-on sponsors my Saturday news show, and then the items that I got for the sponsorship deal, MiSTer Add-ons also added a Reflex adapter in there. Now, I wasn't interested in this, but when I got told that I can use the Joy-Con controller as a rotary controller and play Midnight Resistance and Forgotten Worlds, I was like, okay, bundle one in there. And I was under no obligation to make a video or anything. It was just a treat from MiSTer Add-ons. But I want to talk about my experience with this because, you know, spoiler alert, overall, I am super impressed with this. So I initially got it to try with a Joy-Con. I found like the PS2 controller in my shed, and then I went out and I bought a Super Nintendo controller and a Mega Drive, or aka Genesis controller. Now, just to talk a little bit more about the Reflex Adapt. So it works via USB. It only has 1 millisecond of latency. So in one frame of animation, I think there's around 17 milliseconds equals one frame. So it's minute. You're not really going to notice it. At least I didn't, but we'll talk more about that as we get through. Supported devices, MiSTer, PC and PS3. It connects via a HDMI adapter, and you get different adapters that go into the Reflex adapter. So you can use any USB port on your device. Latency is honestly, it's next to none. It's not zero like SNES, but honestly, like the difference, you won't notice it. At least I don't notice it. So it doesn't support Rumble at the moment, but that's a feature that might come in the future because there's always updates coming for this that supports new controllers. It doesn't support memory cards like SNES does, but you can navigate the MiSTer menu with this, unlike SNES. So there's distinct advantages and disadvantages to using this controller, and you can use any controller with any core. So you're not limited to just using, say, a SNES controller with the SNES core. You can use a SNES controller for the Mega Drive core if that's something you want to do. I don't think that's something you guys are gonna want to do, at least not me. It's got a nice OLED display that shows you what's on screen. You've got a button mode that you can kind of toggle the different controller you're connecting. It works really well. It has 2-player support for NES, SNES, Virtual Boy, Genesis, Saturn, PC Engine, N64, GameCube and 3DO. And for multi-tap, it supports SNES, Genesis, aka Mega Drive, Saturn, 3DO, and that's that of the 3DO. It's as controller chaining. Now, there's going to be more support for more controllers from what I understand, because this is a product that MiSTer Add-ons is constantly working on. So yeah, let's get into some testing, and yeah, let's see how it works. Okay, so let's start the video with testing out the Joy-Con because that's the thing I was most excited about. I haven't played on like a rotary controller for quite some time. So we've got a Reflex, I've got the Joy-Con connected, and now I'm going to run a game that has like a rotary controller support in there. So we'll go through a few of those. Also, stick around in the video because I'm going to show you some bits with the firmware and show you some options, and you can kind of go for the best option that works for you. Okay, so the first game I tried was Midnight Resistance. Now, okay, I had never played this game in the arcade. I played this on the Atari ST mainly around my uncle's house. I just remember it. I love hearing the speech where, you know, you got all the keys and you got to the end point and it was like, hey, pick a weapon. Now, the way I configured the Joy-Con, because with my left hand I'm moving the D-pad and with the right hand I'm moving like the little wheel that's on the controller. So I can't press the face button. So what I did was the two shoulder buttons on the right hand side, R1 and R2, I configured one to jump, one to shoot. Now initially it does take a little bit of getting used to. Like I'm not used to playing like that, but the more I played, the more I got used to it, the better I felt I was getting at it. And honestly, it just works really, really well. Like as far as like a Joy-Con goes, I mean, I paid £20 for it. I think I got a good deal on eBay. I found it for, I think someone was selling it for 25, but it had, you know, that part where you say make me an offer, and I thought, hey, you know what, I'll make them an offer for 20, and they accepted, and I got it a couple of days later. And I was really excited about trying that out. And guys, you know what, it's kind of good. Now playing with this controller isn't as good as actually playing with one of those rotation arcade sticks. I think there's one that's come out recently. I can't remember the name. I did cover it on a weekly news video. It's called like the Thunder something arcade stick. Now that looks really, really awesome. It's not exactly the same as that, but it's a very, very good compromise. And I'm sure the more I play it, the more I get used to it, I will get a little bit better at it. But the Reflex adapter just works amazingly well. I just connected it in there. Like I said, we're going to have a look at the firmware. After we look at the MiSTer games, I'm just going to talk you through some of the firmware stuff, because yeah, there's a little bit of an understanding to it, but depending on what controllers you're using, you can just configure it once, and then you can press the mode button to swap between what controller you're connecting to the Reflex Adapt. So yeah, it's awesome. It's just, with the Joy-Con, definitely takes a bit of getting used to. But I'm really glad that I bought the Joy-Con. I think it's a nice controller for me to have, and it's just nice to be able to play like something like Midnight Resistance, where you can actually rotate the controller around, because that's really how you should be playing it. Without this kind of feature in there, it'll be a little bit tough. I haven't actually tried Outzone. I didn't think of that around the video. Hopefully that's got rotation controller support, because that is a game I did play in the arcade with rotation controls. Anyway, let's have a look at the next game now. Okay, next up, guys, Heavy Barrel. Right, I never played this game in the arcade. I don't really have much love for this because I never played it. But you know what? It's got that Joy-Con support, and it works. It works really well. Again, I'm getting used to it here. One thing about this game, guys, the soundtrack for this game is just banging. It is banging. Yeah, but it works really well. And in regard to latency, guys, like, I'm not feeling any latency. If you can feel like that 1 millisecond of latency, or whatever it is, I think it might even be less than 1 millisecond. If you can feel that, then you're super sensitive. I can generally feel like 1 frame of lag in some games. Like say Street Fighter, if I'm doing some really difficult links, not that I can do them all the time anymore, I'll notice that little 1 frame of lag. But honestly, I'm actually okay with like the 8-bit RF controllers. Those are okay for me. I don't really notice the latency too much in the games. But this is just, it plays really well. I'm so glad I got this, man. And you know, if you want to play Heavy Barrel, well, you can. Okay guys, so next up is a game called Forgotten Worlds. Now again, I never really played this in the arcade. For me, this was a C64 game, but it's one of the games that supports a rotary controller. So I tried it out. All I had to do was to set the up, down, left, right. There's no configuration for the wheel. It just picks it up and it just works exactly how you think it will. You rotate the wheel, your guy rotates his gun. Pretty simple, to be honest. And yeah, it just works. It works really well. It's difficult for me to get used to it. I am finding it rather tough, but I think it's just one of those things where the more I play it, I guess the better I will get at using it. Maybe down the line somewhere I will pick up like a rotary arcade stick. I just don't really have space to put it anywhere. I've got stuff everywhere, but yeah, it works well. So the 3 games we looked at are well. The next game we're going to look at is actually a PlayStation game. Can you guess what it is if we're going to use the Joy-Con? Okay guys, if you guessed Ridge Racer Type 4, well then give yourself a pat on the back, or if you're sitting with somebody, get them to pat you on the back for guessing the right game. But to be honest, it wasn't that difficult because the Joy-Con controller came bundled with Ridge Racer Type 4. Now there's only a few games that supported it on the PlayStation, this being one of them. I think like maybe another game or 2, 3 in total if I'm not mistaken. If you want, let me know in the comments below exactly what games support them, and I will try them out at least for myself. So I had difficulty using and navigating the car. You know, when you rotate the wheel around, it doesn't kind of go to neutral. You've got to rotate it back, and I did find it quite tough. But again, it was nice to kind of try that out. It works really well with the PlayStation Core. You just need to go into the OSD and select the right controller type, and you're good. Okay guys, for this next part here, man, I wanted to try out the SNES. I wanted to try out the SNES. So I tried SNES for the MiSTer. Again, we're going to move over to like the PC stuff via RetroArch at the end of the video. So we're going to get through like the MiSTer part first, have a look at like the kind of firmware options, and then we'll move over to the PC. Because hey, let's face it, most of you guys here for the MiSTer stuff. And guys, you know what? Like, it was easy to connect the SNES. You just need to press the mode button. So the firmware I loaded on mine, which I'll show you after, is I chose the one that gives you SNES, NES, Mega Drive, Saturn, along with the PlayStation ones, and because those are the free controllers I use. But anyway, I set the SNES up. Let's have a look at the SNES games. Okay, so here we are playing SNES with a SNES controller on the MiSTer, guys. And guys, like, I didn't have this in mind. So I've been playing SNES on the MiSTer. I've played on different handhelds, and I've enjoyed myself. But guys, I never thought actually connecting up a SNES controller would be so much fun. Like, wow, like mind blown. So I was playing Mario World, Super Mario World, the way I was when I was in school. So I had this when I was in secondary school. I must have been like 13, 14 at the time. And I remember waking up early every morning. Like, we're talking like a couple of hours before I had to get up for school just to play this. And it's the first thing I used to play when I came home. Guys, it just works fantastically well with the Reflex Adapt. You just, you know, select the SNES profile, bang, you just plug in your SNES controller, and here I am playing. And do you know what? I'm just so glad I actually got this and bought myself like a SNES controller, because I always thought, hey, you know what? I'm all right with these RF controllers, everything there. And don't get me wrong, they're good. But there's just something that nostalgia just it just feels good. All of a sudden, you're holding that SNES controller, and you know, if you grew up playing the SNES, and let's say you've got a MiSTer, and like me, you've been using different 8-bit DOL controllers, and you're kind of good with that, and you grew up playing this stuff. If you've not like played a SNES, I haven't played a SNES for years and years and years, and not used an actual SNES controller. Actually using it was like, there was just something about, you know, the kind of feeling you get when you first play a game on a MiSTer or something, and you get that nostalgic feeling that, you know, you're like, whoa, like, I remember that. That's kind of like what I got with playing the SNES. And honestly, I can tell you now that anytime in the future, if I'm playing the SNES on the MiSTer, I'm going to be using the Reflex Adapt and the SNES controller. I've also got a Snacks controller that Mr. Addon sent me. Let me know if you want to see a video on that. We can kind of put that through the test as well. But yeah, wow, like, honestly, like, guys, like, play with original controllers if you can. I neglected it for a long time. Like, I've had my MiSTer for like a year and a half. My biggest regret is I should have done it sooner. Like, it really is that good. Okay, so next up, guys, I wanted to try the Sega Genesis, as you guys call it. As we call it the Sega Mega Drive. And this is a controller that I bought from CEX. It was actually only £6. A big shout out to my boss, who actually picked it up because it was in stock in his local CEX. So thank you, boss. So I ran this. Now, there's an issue with the controller over here. I'm not going to return it. I'm going to keep it. But the C button, yeah, you got to push it really, really hard. You'll see when we go into Streets of Rage 2 and I'm pressing the C button, I'm not doing the back attack when I'm pressing B and C. But, you know, the Mega Drive one, it works really, really well, just like the others. Okay, so guys, Streets of Rage 2, one of the best Mega Drive games out there, and probably the best beat 'em up, if not one of the best beat 'em ups ever made. And yeah, it works really, really well. But the controller I had was just battered. Like, yeah, it was just battered. I guess it's difficult to find the Mega Drive controller that's being sold somewhere that's in good condition. I mean, it's like 30 plus years old, right? So you're probably going to see bits there where it looks like I'm throwing random punches, but I kept trying to do like the back punch, but the C button, you just got to push it down really, really hard. And another thing that I noticed, even though I was kind of configuring controllers, I'm pretty sure that by default, like the Mega Drive and the SNES controllers were set, because I kind of set them for, I set them for the Mega Drive, but I didn't set them for the SNES, for the core, and everything was just set. So I think, like, once you kind of set up like your Reflex or something to do with maybe the firmware, but either way, like the buttons, they were just set up. I was ready to go, and Streets of Rage 2 just felt really, really good, and the controller definitely felt like, you know when you go around your friend's house and your friend's got 2 controllers and he uses the best controller himself and he gives you what I guess was called the guest controller. That's what this controller felt like. I might try and trade it in to see if I can get one better. I mean, I don't mind the controller being a little bit battered. I'm not one of those that pushes the buttons down with all force, unless I'm getting battered at Street Fighter, then I'm mashing that button. But usually in games I tap stuff quite lightly, and in this one it's really hard. The C button is just stuck, but that's just the actual controller itself. As far as like it working, man, it just works. It works fantastically well. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about the Reflex Adapt's firmware and how you can update the firmware. So this link over here, a GitHub link, I'll leave a link to this in the description of the video, so do check that out. It'll bring you over to MiSTer Addon's Reflex Adapt releases, and there's a few options, and you know what, we're quickly gonna go through them because hey, I do like helping you guys, and most of you guys that are on the channel, the vast majority in fact, are very, very cool. So 2 options now. Okay, so we can update it using Windows, or we can update it using a MiSTer ourselves. Now I'm not sure if these are available via updates, or at least to get this script on your MiSTer. Maybe it is, and if it is, that's even easier, and you may not have to do this step, or it might get implemented in the future. But I'll show you how to do it manually anyway, just in case it isn't available. And hey, you can put it on there manually yourself and get a sense of achievement. Now, I know some of you guys on this channel are way more technical than me, but some of you guys are not. So this is advice for you guys. So first of all, let's have a look at the Windows release. We're gonna download that. So let me click that. Here you go. That's began downloading. And then I'm going to download this as well. You know, might as well do all our downloading at the same time. So let me minimize this. We've got this now. So right, okay, so this is my downloads folder. I've downloaded this multiple times, so I'm not going to scan it. I know it's clean, so I'm just gonna unzip this using 7-zip. Let me bring that over here so you guys can see that as well. And okay, so here we go. Just going to get rid of this zip for now because we don't need it. So let's say you want to update your Reflex Adapt via Windows. I haven't got my Reflex Adapt connected at the moment, but we'll have a look at the user interface. That should be there. There's a README in there as well with good information. But what you want to do is you want to run the reflex.exe, and hopefully it'll show up on my main screen. It hasn't, so let me just maximize that. Okay, so as you can see there's quite a few different combinations. So you've got the you've got the Nintendo one, which is just NES, SNES, TAP, N64, GameCube, Wii. So that will work. You know, you can use those controllers with your Reflex. Now, I spoke to MiSTer Addons. Unfortunately, we couldn't have every single controller on there due to like memory limitations, but go with what combo works best for you. So PC Engine, I think that's Neo Geo, Genesis, Saturn, PlayStation, plus the gun, plus the Jaguar, I believe. I'm just going with the description there, but I'm not going to read all of them out, but you can see there. But then there's combos as well. So the combo that I'm using, the one that's working for me, the one that I use for this video, because I've got a SNES controller, a Genesis aka Mega Drive controller, and a PlayStation controller, that's what I've used. So once I added this firmware, once I ran this firmware on my Reflex Adapt, it just meant I can swap between the 3 controllers I have. Now, you may have a lot more controllers than me, and you may have to change the firmware or write the firmware. I mean, it only takes a couple of seconds, and you can do it directly from your MiSTer as well. I'm just showing you how to do it from Windows. So once you actually do it from here, sorry, I'm not actually showing you with the Reflex connected in. Once you select one of these by pressing enter, and you've got your Reflex Adapt connected to your PC, it will ask you to press the reset button. Once you press the reset button, it will then run that particular firmware to support those particular controllers on your machine. And honestly, that is pretty much it. And the other option we've got, guys, is right, let's get out of here. So, and this one's the easier one. So on the right hand side, I've got the root of my MiSTer micro SD card. So on the root folder of it, you're going to see scripts. Now I've already got this script in here, but hey, I'll copy it in there for the sake of this video. So let's copy and let's paste that in the script folder. See? Okay, it should ask me to replace it. No, I thought it would. Okay, so this is doing it over a network, guys. It's just, here we go. It's a little bit slow. I've got really slow Wi-Fi thing in there because, hey, I'm not online gaming on there. I'm just moving random files from time to time and running an updater. So you know what? It will eventually go on there. Okay, so once you've got that on your MiSTer, however you do it, whether you do it over a network or whether, you know, you take your micro SD card out, you want to put reflex updater.sh in the scripts folder. One advice that I always give, if you're messing around and you're trying to put stuff on, there's a logical trail to follow. If you have a look at, let's say you didn't know where it goes, it will tell you in the README anyway. But if you have a look at everything in here, everything is .sh. And that's a kind of good clue to use for your script. So once we've got that on there, let's go and have a look at the script actually running on the MiSTer. Okay guys, so here we are on our MiSTer and we want to head over to scripts, and as you can see down there we've got the reflex updater, and it's the same thing, it's the same options that we're going to get in the PC app, but we've got them on our MiSTer. And honestly, this is the best way of doing it. If you've got a lot of controllers, then you might rewrite the firmware a few times depending on what combinations you want to play, or you might find, okay, you're only using it like I am at the moment for the NES, the Mega Drive, sorry, the SNES, the Mega Drive and the PlayStation. So there's a firmware that actually suits me there. It's completely up to you, but it's nice to see there's some ease of use in here, so we can just kind of change the firmware straight from our MiSTer. It works really well. I've tried it. I've changed the firmware via the PC, and I've also changed it directly from the MiSTer. Both work just as well. Okay, next up guys, for the rest of the videos it's going to be me testing this stuff out on the PC. So if you're not interested in the PC and you're only interested in like the MiSTer stuff, then you can kind of end the video here. Hey, if you want to watch it, then hey, I like you guys watching my videos because it definitely helps with the YouTube stats. So here I am, I'm just going to configure a PlayStation 2 controller. With it, it picks it up. And can you guess what game I'm going to play? If you guys know me well, you're likely going to guess what PlayStation game I'm going to try.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you.
Okay guys, if you guessed Castlevania Symphony of the Night, then hey, all good. So here I am, playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night on RetroArch. I think the core I was using was the DuckStation core, and guys, it just works really well. Now initially when you connect the Reflex Adapt, RetroArch picks it up as Reflex Adapt. In fact, because it has it's a two-player one that I'm using, it has 2 ports, 2-player support, it picks it up as two different players on there. Now once you've got your PlayStation controller in there, you have to go and set it up manually. We'll have a look at that after, once we have a look at the games. If you do want to set this up to play on RetroArch, you just need to go into inputs and set it manually. We'll definitely have a look at that, but it works really well. Okay, so if your controller is not picked up automatically, like it wasn't picked up automatically for me, go into settings, go into input, and just keep going all the way down until you see port 1 controls. And as you can see, it shows Reflex Adapt 1 up there, and just go in manually and do all the controls. Now you can go, there's an option there that kind of cycles through all the controls and you do it. I kind of prefer to do them manually because a lot of these old controllers don't have the additional buttons. Well, the PlayStation 1 does, but this one here, I'm doing the SNES one, it doesn't have like L2, R2, and that's pretty much it. Once you do it, save your configuration and bang, it will just work. Okay guys, so here I am, I'm running the SNES version of Street Fighter 2 because guys, you know what, we rinsed this game out on the SNES, and I haven't played this on a SNES controller for a long time. Now forgive me here, I was experimenting with my RetroArch SNES core a while ago, and when I ran it again I realized I had like this widescreen hack on. It's actually quite interesting to check out. It kind of fills up the screen. I mean, I genuinely prefer playing the stuff in 4:3 or the correct aspect ratio, but it kind of adds other stuff on there. Now you can't walk to that edge of the screen, it's just there for graphical effect. But guys, okay, so I'm not playing this on the MiSTer, I'm playing this on RetroArch, but RetroArch still, I'm okay with software emulation. I mean, I prefer the MiSTer for stuff, but I'm not a snob that's not like I hate software emulation. I still like it. But guys, playing this on a Super Nintendo controller just brought back, the memories came flooding back. Like I didn't have Street Fighter 2 straight away. A few friends of mine had it. My friend Chris had it on import. Another friend of mine called SR lived down the road from me. He had it and we played it all summer holidays. But we played it on the SNES controller and it just felt good. Like, honestly, if you haven't tried classic controllers, I know I'm saying this again, but if you use an original controller, forget buying like, okay, so I bought the Nintendo 64 NSO online controller for the Nintendo Switch that I'm using on the MiSTer to play the N64 core. Guys, that's cool, like I'm having fun on there. But man, a wired controller, and I guess to some extent my controllers are battered, they just feel good, man. They feel really, really good. It really does bring that authentic feeling back. And I know many people said to me you should try original controllers, and I always ignored it. I'm just glad that I'm on the bandwagon of original controllers, and I can only see myself adding more original controllers. I think I need to get a Master System one, a PC Engine one, and a NES one next, because I think I've just gone down a rabbit hole where I'm going to want more and more original controllers, and I'm going to use them with snacks, and I'm going to use them like I am now with the Reflex adapter, because honestly it does feel like that good. Like, let me know like in the comments below, like, are you guys using these? If you haven't used them, what's preventing you from doing it? Okay, who doesn't like Golden Axe? Am I right? Okay, so this was a banging game on the Mega Drive. It's a banging game in the arcade. Just I love this game in the arcade. I played it a lot in the arcade. But guys, again, using the Reflex Adapt via RetroArch, I had to set the controller manually like the way you saw for the SNES, and I'm using the 3-button Mega Drive controller because you know what, most of my Mega Drive was played on that. In fact, I think in a time like I had the Mega Drive or played the Mega Drive, I never had the 6-button controller. In fact, I'm not even sure if I've held it. I know a friend of mine has it. Maybe I should go and touch it to say, oh, I've actually held it. Because for me, like, Street Fighter was on the SNES and not on the Mega Drive. Even though, guys, the Mega Drive version is better. You can do CPS1 chains on the Mega Drive version, but not on the SNES version, which I found out years and years later. But guys, it works really, really well. Golden Axe is just a banger of a game, and it just feels good playing it on the Mega Drive controller, because I did play Golden Axe 1 and Golden Axe 2 on the Mega Drive. So yeah, this is the kind of final game. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching. This brings us to the end of the video. So I tested all the controllers I had, but honestly, I'm gonna buy more because there's just something about playing with original controllers. Like, I didn't realize it until I actually tried it, and I know I've been doing MiSTer stuff for quite some time now. I thought I was okay with other controllers, and my advice to you guys is, if you haven't tested original controllers, get on it. Honestly, it's amazing. I'll leave links to where you can get the Reflex adapter from. It's currently sold out, but MiSTer Addons does do runs of them, and you can leave your email there to get notified when they do come back in stock. I think they're like $50. Not sure what the postage charges are, but honestly, try them out. And I'm not just saying it because MiSTer Addons is a friend and my sponsor. Like, I genuinely think it's a good product. And like, the good thing about my sponsorship deal with MiSTer Addons is my opinions are my own. Like, you know, he's confident in his stuff, and when I try it out, man, it's very, very good. So hey, if you enjoyed this video, then hey, why not subscribe to the channel? A subscription and a like is super duper appreciated. Take care of yourself, take care of each other. I'll see you guys around. This is Pixel Cherry Ninja out.